Hey y'all, so I have another stitch I want to show you. This one is called the Jacob's Ladder. So just stay tuned and I'll show you how I completed this crochet stitch. Okay, so this is the Jacob's Ladder stitch and I completed this using a worsted weight 4-ply yarn, but I'm going to show you how to do it with a bulk yarn and a larger crochet hook. I just think you can kind of see it a little better. And I think this is a super cool pattern. I found a couple of other YouTubers that do this pattern and I'll link their information in the description box below. That way you can just have a different reference point in how to do this pattern, because sometimes it's easier when you're looking at multiple videos to learn something new. So let's go ahead and start by making ourselves a slip knot and placing that on our crochet hook. Okay, and if I didn't mention, I'm using a bulkier yarn. I think it's a bulk 5, and this is an 8mm crochet hook, also known as an L, and make yourself a foundation chain. It needs to be in the multiple of 5, so make sure that it's divisible by 5. And I did an additional 3 stitches for my initial stitch. So this is my foundation chain here, and I'm going to count over, and into the 4th stitch I'm going to do my first double crochet stitch. So I'm going to count over 3, and into that 4th stitch I'm going to do a double crochet stitch. Okay. And you're going to continue to do double crochet stitch all the way down the row. I'll show you a couple of times on camera. If you're not comfortable doing the double crochet stitch, I'll be sure to link in the video another tutorial that goes a little bit slower, but hopefully you can catch on here. Okay. And like I said, you're going to continue to do that double crochet stitch all the way down until you get to the very last stitch, and you want to make sure you put a double crochet stitch in that stitch as well. So that's what it's going to look like. And then when you get here to the end, just go ahead and do one last double crochet stitch. All right, now let's just give it a count and make sure that we have that multiple of 5. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay, so we have 25, and that's exactly what we want. Now, whatever project you choose to do, whether it's a blanket or whatever, just make sure that it's in a multiple of 5. Go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work. Okay, now once you've chained your chain 1, turn your work, you're going to go ahead and work a row of single crochet stitches all the way down until you get to the end. So I'll do it a couple of times here on camera, and then I'll let you go ahead and get done with that. Okay. And again, whatever size your project is, that's going to determine your foundation chain. And so yours might be different than mine. Okay, and then once you get down here to the end, you want to make sure that you get a single crochet stitch down at the very last loop into that chain, that initial chain of 3. You want to go ahead and make sure you do a single crochet stitch here. Okay, so at this point I'm going to go ahead and change the yarn color, and you don't have to do this step if you want to just keep all of your loops the same color. You would just keep going to the next row, but I'm just going to show you how I added the yarn here. Just drape the yarn over the crochet hook and then just continue crocheting. And there are plenty of ways, you guys, to join yarn. This is just the way that I did it in this tutorial. Once you have your yarn chain, your yarn color changed, you're going to go ahead and make a chain of 3, and then you're going to turn your work. Okay, now typically the chain of 3 would count as your first double crochet stitch. In this case, for whatever reason, I decided to go ahead and make a double crochet stitch in that first stitch right there, and I just don't count that initial chain 3 as a stitch. I think I was doing that so that I can make sure that the hole stays small because I'm using a chunkier yarn, but in most cases I would just chain 3 and that would count as my double crochet. Okay, so go ahead and make yourself 5 double crochet stitches. Remember, I did not count that chain 3 as a double crochet stitch in this example. Okay, once you get 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, once you get 5, you're going to chain 10. Now this is where I want to just clarify something. I'm using a bulky yarn, a bulk yarn 5. So really I could have just chained 8 and it still would have had enough stretch to do the ladder. But if you're doing a regular worsted weight yarn, which is what most people work with, then you'll want to do a chain of 10. Once you have your chain completed, you're going to go ahead and slip stitch, and I slip stitched down closest to the in my double crochet stitch. I did my slip stitch down that double crochet stitch, and I'll show you again. I don't want you guys to get confused, but just pick a spot and can be consistent throughout the project, so that way your loops are the same size. Okay, and then you just continue to do a chain of 5. I'm going to chain of 5 5 double crochet stitches. When you get to the 5th double crochet stitch, you're going to do a chain of 10 or 8 depending on the type of yarn that you're using. So you can see there I have 5 double crochet stitches after that loop. 3, 4, 5. And then you're going to do your chain. And this is all you're going to do for this row, okay? So you're just going to make loops all the way down the row that you're doing your double crochet stitches. And see, right there, I went right back down to the double crochet stitch and I just slip stitched right into that. So I picked a spot that was easy for me to identify, because when you're new working with yarn, sometimes everything looks jumbled. So I picked a spot that I felt comfortable, that I knew I could find on every one of my stitches, and that's what I did for mine. Okay. And you're going to continue doing this in groups of 5 until you get to the end of your row. And I do this a few times on camera. Okay, and then there again, I'm going to do a slip stitch. Just yarn over, pull through, and then pull through. And you can just wiggle your loop out if it kind of gets jumbled a little bit, but you see how that looks, and just continue working. Okay, when you get here to the end, you're just going to complete out your 5 double crochet stitches, and then the very last stitch you're just going to do a double crochet stitch. So this is what it's going to kind of look like. All right, so go ahead and chain 1 and then turn your work. In that very first stitch, you're going to complete your first single crochet stitch. And you're going to do a single crochet stitch all the way down the row. Now this part isn't hard, the single crochet stitch, but I want to show you what happens when you get to your loop. So just keep watching for this section here until we get to our first loop. So right there, this right here is going to be your 5th single crochet stitch. Now you have your loop. Just push that loop right out of the way, and you're going to go to your next stitch. So you see how I just flipped that down? And that next stitch right where my thumb is, you're going to do your single crochet stitch. So basically you're just going to go right over top of that loop. All right. And then you're going to continue to do all the way down the row. So you should still have 25 or whatever multiple 5 that, chain that you had. You should still have that number of stitches on the row. And that's how you know everything's going to work out. Okay, there's that loop. You're just going to push it back, get it out of your way, and go right into that next stitch. And this is what it should be looking like. Alrighty, there you have it. Go ahead, once you get to the end of the row, you're going to chain 3 and then turn your work. Now we're going to be working our row of double crochets, creating that loop. So remember, I went ahead and put a stitch in that first area just for consistency, and you're going to do 5 double crochet stitches. On the 5th double crochet stitch, you're going to do your chain of 10 or chain of 8, just depending again on the yarn, the bulkiness of the yarn. I say the bulkiness of the yarn, really the size of the crochet hook kind of matters too. So all right. So I came right down there towards the same spot that I've been using for the entire project. And I'm just going to do my slip stitch to kind of create the loop, the chain loop. Okay, and once you have the chain loop completed, I just kind of work it in a little bit, but once you have the chain loop completed, then again, you're just going to continue working down the row, continuing with the same pattern that we already discussed earlier. And this is what it's going to start looking like. So you'll start having loops that are going to be stacked on top of one another, but you're then going to be able to pull together to make the actual ladder, or the the ladder, I guess is what we're calling it. So this is what it's looking like. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my crochet hook back in, and this is the last time I'm going to show the single crochet row, and that's just because I feel like this is kind of an important row to make sure you understand how to get past that loop. So go ahead and make yourself 5 single crochet stitches until you get to the loop, the chain loop. All right, and now that we're there, remember, all you're going to do is just bend that loop back out of your way. You're going to crochet right there in front of it, making a single crochet stitch. Okay, so this is pretty much the pattern, and you just continue to do your row of double crochet stitches with the loop, and then a row of single crochet stitches. So now let me show you how we're going to finish off this project and pull everything together. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and just pull, complete the actual ladder. Okay, so go ahead and insert your crochet hook into the loop, and then you're going to create like a chain stitch. So that bottom loop is going to come over the top. You're going to insert the crochet hook into the next loop. That loop that's already on the chain is going to come over the top, pull up. Then you're going to insert your crochet hook into the next one, and you're going to pull up. You're going to complete that all the way until you get to the desired, or however many loops you have, that's how many, of course, you're going to do this. So essentially you're doing a chain stitch with gigantic loops. All right, and then that very last one, same thing. And that's that is your chain. So it looks pretty cool. Look, I'm going to just show you really quickly how to do it with your fingers. Same concept. You're just going to insert your loop, and then you're going to pull the bottom loop up. Insert, pull the bottom loop up. I just wanted to show you, just in case someone wanted to do it with their fingers, how you do it. All right, so that's my 4 rows of ladder stitches that are going up my project. Now what you're going to do is go ahead and make yourself another row of double crochet stitches. So this is just going to allow the loops to come up to the same height across the top, so that everything can we can secure everything down. So you can do a row of double crochet stitches here. I went ahead and changed my yarn so that it looked like the bottom of my project, the beginning part of my project, and you can do that too, or if you're using the same color yarn, don't worry about changing. And then just continue to make a double crochet stitch all the way across. Remember, when you get to that loop, you're just going to push it down, and you're going to go ahead and crochet right in front of it to make sure that you have a double crochet stitch in the next area. Okay. Okay, so then once you get to the end here, you're going to chain, remember, chain 1, turn your work, and we're going to go ahead and work our row of single crochet stitches. Now this is where we're actually going to connect the loops to the project. Okay, so you should have 5 single crochet stitches, and then you should be coming to your first chain loop. Okay, and I'm going to slow it down just a little so we can see here. Now what you're going to do is you're going to insert your crochet hook through the loop. You're going to insert your crochet hook through the stitch, and you're essentially just going to complete your single crochet stitch at this point. So go ahead, and the yarn should be naturally placed over the hook. You're going to pull through, back through the stitch, back through the loop, and now you're going to make your single crochet stitch. So essentially what you're doing is you're just sewing that loop down to your project. So I'll show you it again, and in the next stitch we're going to do the same thing. So through the loop, through the stitch, your yarn should be naturally placed. If not, you're just going to yarn over. You're going to pull back through the stitch, back through the loop, yarn over, and then pull through to complete your single crochet stitch. So then you'll go ahead and continue to do 4 more single crochet stitches, and you should get to your next loop if all your counting is the same. If all your counting is correct, I mean. Okay, and I'll show you one more time here. Through the loop, through the stitch, and then go ahead and complete your single crochet stitch. Okay. So essentially you're going to be going through your loop twice to make sure that it's good and secure to your project. And I just show you that a few more times on camera, but essentially that is the project, you guys. This is what it will look like. There it is there. And you just continue to secure all of your chains or all of your ladders all the way through your project. And as always, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, or if you have any suggestions, please leave them in my comment section down below. Also, you can leave information. If you have any questions, you can head over to Instagram if you use Instagram, and send me a direct message there. And I'm a little bit more responsive just because that comes directly to my phone and I can respond pretty quickly. So this is pretty much it. I'm just showing you a few more times on camera how to complete everything, but this is the Jacob's Ladder stitch, and again I'll put the information for the tutorial that I found the most useful or helpful in the comment section down below. But this is a perfect project for perfect pattern for blankets, for totes, for hats, scarves even. Just gives it a little bit more texture. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for the support. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I put out a new video. I will see you all in my next video. Bye.